Nestled between the Mojave Desert and the Colorado Desert in Southern California lies Joshua Tree National Park. Spanning 3,200 square kilometers, it is slightly larger than Rhode Island, the smallest state in the U.S. The park gets its name from the Joshua trees that thrive there. These trees, part of the Asparagaceae family, can grow up to 15 meters tall and are mainly found in the southwestern region of North America. Joshua Tree National Park is about a 2-hour drive from Los Angeles. Unlike other attractions, it doesn't draw large crowds due to certain inherent risks. The park is mostly uninhabited desert, dotted with Joshua trees across its vast expanse and concealing at least 120 abandoned mine shafts. When night falls, wildlife emerges to forage, making it one of California's most mysterious spots. The park boasts various rock climbing routes with different difficulty levels, popular among climbing enthusiasts and well-known in the climbing community. It's suitable for climbing year-round, making it a haven for adventurers, with each visit offering the chance to discover something new. Despite annual disappearances, the park continues to attract many visitors. Our story's protagonist is Bill Ewasko. Born in 1944, Bill has always been an outdoor enthusiast with a strong spirit of adventure, particularly enjoying solo explorations. In his youth, he served in the Vietnam War. After his service, Bill worked in various financial roles at several companies, eventually becoming a chief financial officer. However, he wasn't content working for others, so he quit his job to start his own business, becoming his own boss. By the age of 66, Bill had amassed a net worth of over $10 million. Bill had a girlfriend named Mary Winston, and they lived in Atlanta, Georgia. Perhaps because neither wanted to be tied down by marriage, they had been together for many years without getting married. In their free time, Bill loved taking Mary on various trips. He enjoyed all kinds of outdoor activities and was drawn to challenging environments. In the summer of 2010, 66-year-old Bill set out on another adventure. He planned a week-long solo hiking trip to Joshua Tree National Park in California. Although this wasn't his first visit, his girlfriend Mary was still a bit worried. To ease her concerns, Bill promised to call her every day to stay in touch. However, as fate would have it, this hiking trip turned out to be problematic. On Wednesday, June 23, 2010, influenced by the Mediterranean climate, the coastal regions were hot during the day and cool at night. Bill embarked on his hiking trip that day. He bid farewell to Mary, left their home in Atlanta, and took a flight to Los Angeles. Upon arrival, he immediately called Mary to let her know he had arrived safely. He assured her that he had already bought his return ticket for July 1st, a week later, and planned to take her on a vacation to Florida after returning to Atlanta. In Los Angeles, Bill rented a white Chrysler and booked a local apartment for the night. The next morning, he woke up early and drove eastward toward Joshua Tree National Park, about 200 kilometers away. Around 8 a.m., Bill passed through Palm Desert, California, and made 2 phone calls. The first was to the apartment manager in Los Angeles, informing them he would be gone for a few days and would check out upon his return. The second call was to his girlfriend, Mary, in Atlanta. Bill excitedly shared his plans for the next few days with Mary, mentioning that he intended to visit several spots in the park, including Carey's Castle, Hidden Valley, and the Indian Caves. He told Mary that his first stop would be Carey's Castle. Despite its name, Carey's Castle is actually an abandoned miner's cabin built into the rocks deep in the desert, located on the southern edge of Joshua Tree National Park. It is very remote and rarely visited, though some hikers occasionally spend the night there. The park management had warned against visiting Carey's Castle due to the risk of collapse from its dilapidated state. Mary was aware of the dangers and felt worried. Bill reassured her over the phone, promising to be careful. To ease her concerns, he vowed to only explore during the daytime and not stay overnight in the park. He also promised to leave the park by 5 p.m. on the first day and head to Pioneer Town, 25 kilometers northwest of the park, where he would call her to check in. After finishing the calls, Bill continued driving towards Joshua Tree National Park. The day passed quickly, and soon it was 5 p.m. Mary was anxiously waiting for Bill's call, but he still hadn't contacted her. Feeling uneasy, she tried calling him, but the call went straight to voicemail. She tried multiple times, but each attempt ended the same way. Mary reminded herself that Bill had promised to call at 5 p.m. and wouldn't break his word easily. Mary thought Bill might have had a weak phone signal, preventing him from calling. Joshua Tree National Park is vast and sparsely populated, with many areas lacking signal coverage. As night fell and Bill's call never came, Mary's anxiety grew. Realizing she couldn't just sit and do nothing, Mary decided to take action. Mary found the contact number for Joshua Tree National Park Management online and called, but it was after hours, so no one answered. She spent the entire night tossing and turning, unable to sleep. The next morning at 8 a.m., Mary finally reached the park management. She informed them that her boyfriend, Bill, had gone missing in the park and requested their help in finding him. The park management immediately dispatched a ranger team to Carey Castle, where Bill was most likely to be. The rangers thoroughly checked inside and around Carey Castle but found no trace of Bill. They noted that the trail outside Carey Castle hadn't been visited in at least a week, leading them to suspect that Bill might never have been there. Bill was known for his meticulous planning and rarely deviated from his intended destinations, making this situation highly unusual for him. The ranger team reported their findings to the park management. Dave Perlman, the head of Joshua Tree National Park, who was 71 years old and had 19 years of search and rescue experience, believed that while disappearances in the park were not uncommon, they were always taken very seriously. Dave tried to reassure Mary, suggesting that Bill might have just gotten lost. Clearly, Dave's words were meant to comfort her, as he didn't disclose the other possibility, that every year, some people are never found in the vast and mysterious desert. Hidden dangers abound, such as deep pits and caves formed by tectonic activity, where one misstep could lead to a fall. The park's peaks, which may not seem very high, often take over an hour to climb. Most of the park remains in its natural, undeveloped state, lacking signs and signals, and even its maps can be confusing. Dave believed Bill's solo venture into the park was extremely risky due to its vast areas of remote and undeveloped wilderness. If Bill encountered any unexpected situations and deviated from his planned route without reporting it in time, he could easily get lost, especially in a place like Joshua Tree. When Dave learned that Bill was a retired veteran and experienced hiker, he was convinced that Bill was merely lost and not in immediate danger. However, within the next few hours, the ranger team, following clues provided by Mary, discovered that Bill had planned to visit many locations, not just Carey's Castle. Bill had over 10 destinations planned for his week-long trip, but he encountered trouble on the very first day. Given the limited manpower of the ranger team, searching all these places would take a considerable amount of time, making it very challenging to find Bill solely through searching. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Dave decided to personally oversee the next phase of the search operation. He began drafting search routes, determining search areas, and deploying search personnel. Joshua Tree National Park has multiple entrances, but none of them had any record of Bill entering. These entrances are unmanned, allowing explorers to come and go freely. Many adventurers voluntarily register their information for safety reasons, so that in case of an emergency, the park management would know. Perhaps out of confidence, Bill did not register when he entered the park. This raised the possibility that Bill might not have entered the park at all. After an unsuccessful search, Dave called the police for assistance. The police arrived at the Joshua Tree National Park Management Office to start their investigation. They contacted Bill's girlfriend, Mary, to learn about his activities on the day he went missing. Investigators then went to Bill's apartment in Los Angeles. Mary confirmed that Bill was in good health and had no medical issues. He had meticulously planned this short trip, making it unlikely that he would divert from Joshua Tree National Park to go elsewhere. In Bill's Los Angeles apartment, investigators found several maps he had drawn, along with a rental receipt for a Chrysler car. One of the maps detailed Bill's itinerary for June 24th, showing he intended to spend almost the entire day in Joshua Tree National Park. According to his plan, Bill was to first visit Carey's Castle, located 55 kilometers from where he last made a phone call, and then head to the Shima Mine in the northwest part of the park. The two destinations, Carey's Castle and Shima Mine, are 50 kilometers apart and require passing through several valleys. Bill planned to leave the park by 5 p.m. and head to Pioneer Town for dinner and lodging. However, none of the restaurants or hotels in Pioneer Town had any records of Bill, suggesting he was still in Joshua Tree. Based on the park management's search efforts, no trace of Bill was found at Carey's Castle, nor any sign that anyone had been there recently. Given that Bill only had enough food and water for one day, it was crucial to find him quickly. If Bill hadn't gone to Carey Castle that day, he might have headed elsewhere. According to his plan, he had several other destinations lined up for the following days, such as the viewpoints in the northwest part of Joshua Tree National Park and the Hidden Valley climbing area. The police and park authorities worked together, expanding the search area and scouring every corner of the park for any signs of Bill. On the evening of June 26th, 2 days after Bill went missing, around 7 p.m., a police patrol helicopter spotted a white Chrysler along a flat road in the park. The car was parked in a small lot where many adventurers leave their vehicles before heading into the park on foot. The search team arrived at the parking lot and found a set of footprints in the sand outside the car that matched Bill's shoe size. The car, rented from a Los Angeles company, was 55 kilometers from Carey Castle. Looking through the car windows, investigators found a box of bottled water, maps, and other items, confirming that Bill had indeed entered Joshua Tree National Park. He had parked his car at the trailhead and started his hike from there. It was discovered that on the day Bill went missing, the trailhead had only one known visitor, a hiker named Greg Mendoza. Greg stated that he arrived at the parking lot at 10:20 a.m., parked his car, and began his hike. At that time, his car was the only one there, and he didn't see any other vehicles or people. However, when he returned to the parking lot at 5:30 p.m., he saw a white Chrysler, which was Bill's car. From these clues, it was deduced that Bill's car arrived at the parking lot after 10:20 a.m. At 8 a.m., Bill called Mary from Palm Desert, which was 2.5 hours earlier. The drive from Palm Desert to the Juniper Flat Road trailhead takes about an hour, leaving a gap in Bill's timeline. Park manager Dave speculated about Bill's possible route and led the search team deeper into the park, covering areas like the Anvil Mountain viewpoint. As news of Bill's disappearance spread, unofficial rescue teams joined the search, setting up a temporary command post near a spherical natural rock formation called Crown Rock within the park. They compiled all gathered intelligence, differentiated the search paths of each rescue team, and ruled out already searched areas. They also explored various side trails and rock formations around Bill's car's location but found no further traces. Just when the rescue teams were at a loss, an unexpected event brought a breakthrough in the search efforts. The rescue operation took a pivotal turn. 3 days after Bill went missing, on June 27th at 6:30 a.m., a cell tower briefly connected with his phone. This cell tower, located in the town of Landers, northwest of Joshua Tree National Park, was about 30 kilometers from where Bill had parked his car. Typically, a cell tower's coverage ranges from a few kilometers to several dozen kilometers. In densely populated areas, the range might be smaller, but in remote regions, the coverage can extend much farther. An hour later, the rescue team began their search along this route. Near a ridge on Quail Mountain, they found a red bandana confirmed to belong to Bill, but no other items were discovered. The search effort mobilized various forces, involving up to 60 rescuers daily, helicopters, civil air patrol planes, searchers on horseback, and dogs. Participants included search and rescue teams from all over California, specially trained dogs and horses, and several patrol helicopters. Ground searchers collectively submitted GPS tracks covering at least 1,200 kilometers. Mathematician Ben Hammersley theorized that the seemingly solid rock walls in the national park were actually composed of large, loose boulders, forming hidden spaces like rooms. Consequently, there were countless concealed areas within the park. Bill might have inadvertently entered one of these hidden spaces. Alone in the vast desert without food and water, he wouldn't survive long in such an extreme environment. Escaping on his own would be very difficult. 2 weeks after Bill went missing, the official search was called off. However, unofficial searches continued, including efforts by rescue expert Tom Mahood, who had previously led the search for 4 missing Germans in Death Valley in 2009. Tom and another searcher had hiked in Death Valley for over a year, eventually finding the remains of the 4 Germans who had been missing for 13 years. A native Californian, Tom was very familiar with the environment of Joshua Tree National Park, which he likened to his backyard. In Tom's view, Joshua Tree, though seemingly beautiful, could be considered a desert hell. Even an experienced adventurer like Tom would hesitate to explore the area alone. Regarding the disappearance of 66-year-old millionaire Bill, Tom believed that if Bill were still alive after an accident, his most pressing need in the scorching desert would be water. Bill, a veteran with wilderness survival experience, would likely seek higher ground to survey the terrain for water sources. The nearest peak to where Bill parked was Quail Mountain, about 7 kilometers away. From its summit, he could see Smith Water Canyon in the distance, where streams flowed at the bottom. Tom speculated that Bill might have headed to Smith Water Canyon for water. The journey from Quail Mountain to the canyon was extremely rugged, requiring a steep descent. Tom speculated that Bill might have encountered trouble halfway through his journey. Rescuers had previously found Bill's red bandana on Quail Mountain, but this lead was eventually dismissed. Tom and a friend decided to search from the base of Quail Mountain down to the bottom of Smith Water Canyon, circling the area, but they found no trace of Bill. Shifting his focus, Tom turned to the last known signal from Bill's phone. He theorized that Bill, realizing he was lost, had turned off his phone to conserve battery and only turned it on periodically to try to make contact. 3 days after Bill's disappearance, his phone briefly connected to a cell tower in Landers Valley, but the signal was too weak to make a call. During his investigation, Tom shared his findings and theories on a website he created for adventurers to communicate and share rescue experiences. The site attracted many experts, including Mike Melson, a computer specialist. Melson, known as a prodigy programmer in his youth, had worked with the government to develop a program that could convert raw mobile data into graphical maps using phone location data and signal towers. Intrigued by Bill's case, Melson frequently commented on the website, offering professional insights. He later joined Tom's search efforts in Joshua Tree National Park. Initially, Melson suspected the last signal from Bill's phone might have been fabricated. To verify this, he visited the signal tower near Landers Valley, about 30 kilometers from the Juniper Flat Road parking area. He believed the tower could cover approximately 17 kilometers. However, Melson discovered that the 17-kilometer range was only theoretical. The rugged terrain, various rock formations, and hot air in Joshua Tree National Park could cause signal reflection or diffraction, meaning Bill's phone could be far beyond the tower's 17-kilometer range. Melson and others expanded their search area. He had developed a database of 150,000 search and rescue cases from real-life missing adventurers. Using this data model, he predicted potential locations where Bill might have gone, but it proved ineffective. Despite conducting hundreds of searches, the unofficial rescue team still couldn't find Bill, who seemed to have vanished into thin air. 4 years after Bill's disappearance, a well-known media outlet reignited interest in the case, sparking a new wave of search efforts. People were eager to uncover what had happened to Bill. Some speculated that Bill had been murdered while hiking in Joshua Tree National Park. They theorized that someone might have followed him to the trailhead parking lot, killed him once he entered the park, and then hidden his body. Some theorized that Bill was killed before he even reached the park, and the perpetrator drove his rental car into the park to create the illusion that Bill had been there. However, most online commenters thought Bill likely encountered an accident in a remote part of the park and couldn't escape. He could have fallen off a cliff, slipped into a crevice, or gotten lost in an abandoned mine shaft. Joshua Tree National Park sees at least 50 missing person cases each year, with most individuals eventually being found. However, some remain missing. One such person was Ed Rosenthal, a hiker around Bill's age. In September 2010, Rosenthal went missing in the Black Rock area in the northwest part of the park. Search and rescue teams looked for him for 6 days before finally finding him alive. Rosenthal had run out of water by the second day of his hike and survived by extracting moisture from desert plants until he was rescued. This incident occurred 3 months after Bill's disappearance. Adam Marsland, a pop music producer, took a keen interest in these kinds of incidents. In 2014, 4 years after Bill's disappearance, Marsland went to Joshua Tree National Park to join other volunteers in searching for Bill. In an interview, he mentioned that he was deeply affected by the case and wanted to help find Bill. He used drones and infrared sensors in his search efforts. Marsland initially speculated that Bill might not have truly gone missing but instead staged his own disappearance. This theory stemmed from Bill's company, which dealt with financial services, nearly going bankrupt during the 2008 financial crisis. Afterward, Bill frequently engaged in outdoor activities. Marsland thought Bill might have had a mental breakdown and decided to end his life in Joshua Tree National Park. However, further investigation led Marsland to dismiss this possibility because Bill had a good relationship with his girlfriend Mary and was even planning their wedding. Moreover, Bill had an 85-year-old mother whom he would not have abandoned. The fact that his rental car contained a full case of bottled water indicated he had planned for several days of hiking. To uncover the truth behind Bill's disappearance, Marsland participated in multiple search operations. He and his team navigated the desert, climbed various cliffs, and even explored some bottomless abandoned mines. Marsland believed Bill likely chose his route because he had abandoned his initial plan to head to Kerry Castle. Before setting off, Bill had packed a box of water in his car, and on that day he took out only 2 bottles, suggesting he intended to go for a short hike and return to the parking lot soon. As Bill hiked through Joshua Tree National Park, he was captivated by the scenery. Realizing he was getting farther from his starting point, instead of turning back, he continued onward. Soon, the beautiful San Gorgonio mountain came into view, and Bill decided to climb to the top to enjoy the vista. By then, Bill had nearly finished his larger bottle of water, but he knew there would be water in Smith Water Canyon. However, the 5-kilometer trek from San Gorgonio Mountain to Smith Water Canyon was far more challenging than he had anticipated. His physical strength waned, and he became dehydrated. During his descent, he had a mishap and injured himself, making it impossible to return to the starting point. By this time, the search for Bill had begun, but efforts were initially concentrated around Kerry Castle. Little did anyone know that Bill was 67 kilometers away in Smith Water Canyon. He held on in the canyon for 2 days without encountering any rescuers. Once he regained some strength, he decided to attempt a self-rescue. With no signal where he was, he planned to head west out of Smith Water Canyon. He received a signal, but when he tried to make a call, it was lost, and he could not return to the parking lot. Many missing persons in Joshua Tree National Park have faced similar situations. For instance, 51-year-old Paul Miller of Guelph has been missing since July 13th after going for a hike in the park. On June 28, 2020, 30-year-old Lauren disappeared in the park, and her body was discovered 3.5 months later on a rugged mountain road near Landers Valley. Solo adventures are extremely risky. If something goes wrong, one often has to rely on self-rescue. However, there are instances of successful self-rescue. A notable example occurred in 2003 when Aaron Ralston went on a solo expedition in the mountains of Utah and had an accident. While climbing, a large boulder trapped his right arm, making it impossible for him to move or contact rescuers. After 127 hours of struggle, Ralston decided to amputate his arm to survive. Though he lost his right arm, he ultimately escaped successfully. Aaron Ralston's ordeal was later turned into the movie 127 Hours, which garnered numerous awards. More importantly, it highlighted the dangers of solo adventures. The film premiered in November 2010, just 6 months after Bill's disappearance. 12 years after Bill vanished, a woman named Mary and 4 friends went camping in Joshua Tree National Park. Eager for excitement, the group decided to climb a mountain in the park's northwest region, west of Smith Water Canyon, an area they had never explored before. That evening, Mary and her friends arrived at Spring Top Loop, planning to camp there overnight. While searching for a suitable spot to pitch their tents, Mary noticed something buried in the sand nearby. She walked over, knelt down, and brushed away the sand, revealing a bone. Initially, Mary thought it might be an animal bone, but after discussing it with her friends, some suspected it could be human. To confirm their suspicion, they continued digging at the site. As more bones surfaced, the gravity of their find became apparent. They promptly alerted the park authorities. Soon after, park management and the police arrived at the scene. Near the bones, they discovered a backpack which was identified as belonging to Trammell Evans. Inside, they found a well-preserved driver's license. The name on the license was unmistakable: Bill Ewasko, the man they had been searching for over the past 12 years. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps us going. Thank you.